Bruins Beat is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
And we're here with Conor Ryan. Conor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. You were down at Patriots minicamp, right? It's minicamp. I always get confused. I never know like what's going on during the summer with them.
Yeah, it's mini camp, and of course, this hockey writer who's usually indoors, nice air conditioning, nice chill, did not decide to bring sunscreen. Didn't know that was a thing. So I am checking on me later on this week, Evan, and we'll see what state I'm in. But an important thing to know, get the SPF for the other days it's mini camp. So I'm laboring a little bit, but I'm happy to be here.
You're going to get some color, though. You're going to get a nice little tan.
It's going to look like this shirt.
Yeah, you're going to be a lobster, though, a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and we'll be following along with your stuff at Boston.com. You'll become a Patriots expert as the week goes along. Maybe, probably, most likely. Hockey is still being played, Conor. Stanley Cup Final, Florida Vegas. See, I think Florida Vegas should be like a thing. That's what it's called now. Florida Vegas, just the mesh.
One big conglomerate. Yes.
Oh yes. That would be great for this country if Florida and Vegas merged. That would really be some high quality stuff. 3-1 Vegas. Again, we're recording this Monday. Obviously game 5 is Tuesday night. Cassidy, 1 win away from the cup. Jack Eichel, 1 win away from the cup. Aiden Hill, which has been an incredible story. Also 1 win away from the cup. Is it over? Does Vegas finish the job in game 5?
I think so. I just think that, and it's tough to look past this Florida team for everything they've done so far this year, but I just think it's so impressive what Vegas has done. I mean, you have that backbreaker game 3 where it looked like you're about to go up 3-0. Chuck scores. They end up winning in overtime. Florida's 7-0 in overtime this playoff run. So that could very well have been a backbreaker. And Vegas goes out, gets an early lead, holds off the expected surge you get from Florida, just like a clinical kind of performance from Vegas. And it's just a team that you look at how they're built. Obviously, it starts at the top with Cassidy and just how connected they are defensively, but they just have everything you want in terms of a team that's going to contend like in today's NHL, right? Like you've got the big blue line. I think like their smallest guy is Alec Martinez, who's 6'1", but you've got high end scores. You got a lot of speed. I think that's one thing you notice now is as much as people look at I think the right mix has to be like big blue line, and then you have to have a lot of speed and skill up front. So even if it's wingers like Jonathan Marchessault, who aren't that big, you look at what they can create, what guys on the forecheck can do. A guy like Carlson, who's been fantastic all year, especially defensively. And then, of course, you get like the trademark hot goaltender in Aiden Hill comes out of nowhere. Vegas is a team that you look at just how they've built out this roster. I think it's what you need to do in order to compete in today's NHL. And so far, they've executed that against a Florida team that can make you pay in a hurry. And so far, they haven't had that many chances against this Vegas team.
Yeah, Florida, I mean, has shown in the past, obviously, they can come back from a 3-1 series deficit. I forget when they did that, but I think they've done it at some point. I can't really recall when that happened. Let me
scroll through that and look it up a little bit later. We'll edit this back in once I Wikipedia it. So.
Yeah. We don't have access to the internet as we do these, so we apologize for not having that. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's over. I think it is. Vegas winning in their own building. Can you imagine what that place is going to be like if they win? I mean, it's
going to be just carrot top, just like going crazy in the stands.
John Taffer pouring up drinks for everyone.
I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah, it is the dream. And for any bar rescue fan, I think Lil Jon he's a big Vegas fan as well. So I believe so.
And we'll see what Mark Wahlberg is doing. We'll see if he's busy shilling some other really shitty company. But if he has time, maybe he'll be a Golden Knights fan for the weekend. So we'll see.
Well, if he's a fan, they're cursed. So they better hope he doesn't show up in a Vegas jersey because and do the thing where they go like this, whatever it's called.
I mean, the siren thing. Well, don't forget, Mark Wahlberg left, which also prompted the Patriots then to beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Because he left and then threw his little child under the bus, which is a totally normal thing to do. Mark Wahlberg sucks, by the way. Let's throw it out there. Mark Wahlberg, trash. Anyway, Evan,
you've
go
always
ahead.
you were on that before. You've been on that for like pre people canceling him, right? In a way. You've been
Yes.
because
No.
ever since I've known you, you've been a big
Scumbag.
yeah, you've not been a fan of him. So
Anyway,
yeah,
I
back
digress.
to the show.
I digress.
You can't
But
help it. And I
if you
get
like,
that. I agree
if
with
you
you.
like
I agree with you.
Wahlburgers, if you like Wahlburgers, I don't know what to tell you. Bad.
I've never had it. I've never had Wahlburgers, but again, I've not
I
heard
imagine
great
it
things.
sucks. I imagine it sucks, Evan.
There's just the only place I've ever seen there be a Wahlburgers is around Fenway, and there's just so many better options for burgers. Tasty Burger, that's it. Just Tasty Burger. Just go to Tasty Burger.
I'd rather go to the Yard House.
Oh, Yard House too. Yeah, those places like that. Like, give me that. But anyways, give me that. Give me that. Give me that. I think you should leave reference for those who aren't following. Bruins stuff. We are trying our best to find some Bruins things, but there are real things to talk about. I don't want to pretend like these are nothing things. They're real topics. Kevin, your colleague, Kevin Paul DuPont, in his Sunday Notes column mentioned the Bruins have Tyler Bertuzzi and Dmitry Orlov as pending high-profile UFAs. Like Severson, Damon Severson, obviously, they'd be allowed to sign only 7-year deals with clubs other than Boston, with a trade partner willing to go to 8 years and with the player agreeing. Sweeney could sign one or both to max term length and receive a pick or two in return. Again, fairly humble return, but the Bruins can use picks. And anything is better than seeing them walk for nothing. Obviously, Damon Severson was signed to an 8-year, $50 million deal by New Jersey, traded to Columbus. Columbus got a 3rd-round pick in exchange. Obviously, Bertuzzi seems off the table. That they seem like they want to try and re-sign him, try and find something at least. Orlov is where it gets interesting, I think, because Orlov we've kind of all written off over the past couple of weeks. Last month. The problem is he's 30, so I don't know if other teams are really eager to sign him to a 8-year deal. I don't know. Maybe you find someone desperate who's going to give up a 2nd or a 3rd-round pick. Orlov is now definitely one of the top UFAs on D, maybe the top. Because again, Severson's gone, Gavrikov's gone. If a team really wanted to kind of get the inroad, I don't see why not, if you can try to make that work if you're Don Sweeney.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at something like that in terms of structuring it where you're able to sign him to a longer-term deal. Requires a lot, I think, to go in the Bruins' favor. Like, you need one from the goodwill of, like, Orlov. Like, again, let's, I think, view it in the perspective of Orlov, I guess, because the Bruins, as you said, are trying to do what they can to retain him. And if that means moving out contracts, we'll see what happens. But the Bruins, I don't think are going to be in a situation where they're like, all right, well, it's a good run, Tyler. Like, yeah, the money's not going to work. They're going to view their options, see what they can do first. Orlov, I agree, like, very good player still, fit in well on this team. But when you look at his age, plus the term, plus the payout, plus the Bruins' limited cap space right now, makes sense they're probably going to move on. But to then, go to Orlov and be like, all right, we can't sign you. Really, but want to give us a little wink, nod, like help us get a 6th-round pick or a 7th-round pick off of just adding another year of term for another team to get him. Like, I just view it as, especially it'd be one thing if it was like some player who had been here for years and like it just wasn't going to work out. And like, all right, you know us, we know your agent, we know all this stuff. Like Orlov, he's been here for a few months. Like, I don't really see that happening. And again, like, it's right. Like the Bruins desperately need draft capital, but that being the avenue they take, I just don't see it happening from just a practical sense, right? In terms of what you need to have happen there. You need a lot of working pieces to just get a probably 6th or 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're getting
not getting much.
Not much for just another year tacked on when, as you said too, like, I think Orlov's going to get what? 6 years, like $6.5 million, right? Like, I don't think the Bruins are going to hit that. I don't see any team giving him 8. And if you are, I mean, all the power to Dmitry Orlov, but like, I don't know how many teams are going to give him an 8-year deal.
Yeah, it comes down to like who's giving him an 8-year deal. And Columbus is kind of a unique team. They're aggressively retooling that back end. Yeah. They're doing some odd stuff to try and make that all work and become a contender basically overnight. I don't know what Orlov brings to a team where that's the case, who can't wait a few days to try and sign him. Like That's where I don't understand how that works. And as you said, it's not like, oh, you can potentially get a first round pick for Dmitry Orlov. It's like you're getting a low pick, which again, I mean, you never know, but you need draft capital in the first 2 rounds. You don't really need to bend over backwards for the later rounds. And again, I think we'll get into as the draft gets closer. Is there any chance they get into the first round? Is there any chance they get into the second round? I think they'd like to, but it's very hard to do it in this draft because it's really, really freaking good. Connor, though, before we continue on with this episode, our good friends over at FanDuel make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. And to be honest, so I love FanDuel. The promotions are outstanding. The safety and security of the app, elite. The ability for me to get paid instantly, amazing. It's a terrific experience to bet with FanDuel because of how easy to use the app is. You want to do some NHL futures? Go for it. You want to bet the rest of the Stanley Cup final? You should do it. Or you want to finish out, some NBA futures? Maybe you want to get in on the Red Sox. Red Sox are doing their thing. You want to get in on that? Maybe some Patriots NFL futures? Go for it. Why not? And there's no better place to bet on all of that action than America's #1 sportsbook. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please gamble responsibly. Jumping right back into things, we touched on the potential of trading Bertuzzi or Orlov. There was more. There's been, the NHL trade market was a little active the past week because you had the 3-way deal with the Kings, Columbus, and Philly. And the Kings kind of found a way to clear some cap space. They dealt Cal Peterson with his $5 million contract and Sean Walker with, I think it was like $2.6 million or $2.8 million to Philly. In return to do that, they had to give up a 2024 second and a prospect who was taken in the 2020 NHL draft in the second round. So you're basically giving up 2 second-round picks to do that. And they also retained 30% of Ivan Provorov's $6.75 million contract to do that. I saw Fluto Shinzao wrote a story in The Athletic basically saying, is this a way for the Bruins to clear cap? I don't think it is. I have a tough time thinking this is the way. The Bruins are kind of fortunate. They don't have one of those Cal Peterson contracts. The days of David Backes are over. So you don't really have anyone on this roster, I don't think, who is making over like $4 million and is just kind of a burden on the roster. I mean, Mike Riley, they're going to try to figure something out with, but I wouldn't put him in that same category. Mm-hmm. But also, like, to get rid of contracts if they had to, they don't have the picks or prospects to do that. That would be a waste. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I just don't see that being an avenue. It's like right now you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place if you're the Bruins, right? In terms of just finding ways to shed these contracts. Like, I think people have to, set themselves up for not disappointment, but just being realistic in terms of if you're moving a guy like Olmark or Hall or what have you, like the guys we've already talked about countless times, Grizzly, Forbert, Riley, if you're able to get a pseudo for him. The key thing I think for the Bruins is clearing cap space, right? Is getting that financial flexibility back. Again, it remains to be seen what happens with Bergeron and Krejci. I imagine the Bruins probably already have some clarity, and if not, I think ideally we probably hear something relatively soon after the season wraps up officially. But this is a team that still has a core in place that should be competitive. It's all about having the flexibility to retain talent, add to this group in place, and you can't do that without moving up contracts. So as much as people look at really not convoluted, but more elaborate trades, like what dealing up prospects or what have you, in the sake of cap flexibility. I think it's going to come down to just finding like the top bidder for draft capital, and if it's even moving Olmark for a couple of picks, or if it's Hall for below what you might think. If it leads to cap space and it leads to getting a guy like Bertuzzi, it allows you to add a guy later down the road. You use a haul of draft picks to then acquire another center or what have you. Like, I think moving out these contracts is the priority, not necessarily what the return is. Of course, I'm not to say that you're moving Allmark for a couple of fourth rounders, right? Like, but I think for the Bruins, the key thing is just making sure you have that cap space available to really augment what is already a pretty strong core that you have in place here.
So I go back to, it's almost the drastic measures they're going to have to take. Allmark, Hall, that feels the way to clear cap, because you're clearing cap space with pieces that are still valuable. Like they carry value. You'll get something in return. You should get something in return, I would hope, for Taylor Hall and or Linus Ullmark. But yeah, jumping in on a trade like this to clear cap, and even like the whole idea of dealing Mike Riley and having to give up a draft pick with it, like that still even makes me like, don't do that. Like there's a way, it would be less, but if you could just, as we've talked about, just buying him out, I think is probably the better move for your prospect pool and your future prospect pool.
Yeah.
But I don't have that desire that the Kings did. And the Kings have a deeper prospect pool. They have more picks. They have this, kind of annoying contract on their books. Lord knows how Cal Peterson's going to do in Philadelphia with already a bad goaltending city. You got John Tortorella on you all the time. So that should be very interesting. But yeah, I don't have the desire for the Bruins to jump in on something like that. We've outlined our plan for, somewhat of our plan, the Marinofsky Ryan doctrine, to what do you call it? To clear up space, which is going to be weird. I'm curious. Like, I think it's setting up to be, and this is why it'll be a dud, but it's setting up to be a somewhat explosive offseason with trades at least. But it wouldn't surprise me also if Don Sweeney found a way around that, because that's sort of what he's been fairly good at, of just kind of like going off the beaten path.
I mean, like you look at just the way they have things set up. Like again, you go with like best expectations or best laid plans of how they approach things, and it never goes out of how you expect it to, right? Like hell, like the Bruins could very much look at this offseason and the fact that the cap should really bump up the next couple of years. I think I saw one report that said like maybe not next year, but 2 years down the road, it could be like a 10 million total. Like we could look at like 93, 94 by 25. Hell, is Don Sweeney like, hey guys, sign 1 year deals and we'll promise you more money down the like? Again, you can never know how exactly these cap gymnastics are going to work out. Or, it's one thing for a GM to kind of preach that and have players buy in, but if you're a player who's a free agent this year and you look at what lies ahead, are there going to be guys that kind of do what Taylor Hall did in Buffalo, like a 1 year deal, and try to land in another spot down the road?
Just do that 2 years?
Yeah, like that could very well be a thing that we should probably take note of in terms of how free agents are approaching these things. Like, is Tyler Bertuzzi gonna would he take like a 1 year 5.25 to then try to re-up a thing down the road? Like that is, as you look at just the financial forecast and how things should improve, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? If you're the Bruins, you can get a guy like Bertuzzi. Let's say you get him back here for 6 years, 5.25. All of a sudden, you got him, Pastrnak, McAvoy, Lindholm signed. You have the cap bumping up. Those contracts are great. But also, if you have guys that sign short-term deals and hopes of a bigger payout, it helps you get over this initial hump this year too. So how it all pans out, it remains to be seen. But I think that looming cap jump that is expected should have some, positive and negative effects for how the Bruins handle this free agency.
I agree with you. I like the idea of, hey, sign this 1 or 2 year deal and
for the league minimum. Trust us, guys.
Trust me. Yeah, we're gonna do this. The league minimum. Hey, if Patrice Bergeron can do it, Tyler, you can do it too.
Yes, you're only 28.
Yeah, you're only in the prime of your career. You're only looking for your long-term deal, but just wait a year or two. That'll work out great. Interesting stuff all around. This is a short episode, but we'll have more kind of coming in the next couple of weeks. Connor, what can people look forward to from you over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe?
Yes, beyond my Patriots coverage as I continue to get burned out, I think the summer's getting worse as I've done. It's like
it has gotten worse. It has.
Beyond the Patriots and Red Sox and all that stuff, of course, we'll have you covered throughout this offseason for the Bruins. Things should start heating up a little bit as we get to the dog days of June now. So whether it's the draft, free agency, trades, all that good stuff, we'll have you covered every step of the way over at Boston.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. And remember to go subscribe to New England Hockey Journal. It's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.